Let's get right to it. So the Gabby Petito case is really blown up in the headlines, as you know, but for victims of domestic violence, it's bringing up some really ugly truths about what happens in abusive relationships like this. But what conversation should we be having as a country? Do you think that the conversation is going in the right direction?
Okay, first of all, let me start with some quick statistics. 24 people per minute in the United States are being abused. 1 in 3 females, 1 in 4 males. 12 million people per year are affected by this horror. It doesn't happen to other people, as we often like to think. It happens to anyone, regardless of position, socioeconomic status, education. In fact, there's a very good chance that it may have happened to someone you know. We have to talk to each other about the fact that this really happens. It's not an isolated event. We have to talk to boys about how to treat girls and what happens to them as human beings if they don't. We have to talk to women and girls about how to maintain self-esteem, how to protect themselves, and how to recognize signs of abuse. We have to talk to communities about allowing adequate resources and help for people who are frightened, overwhelmed, and very much abused.
So there are so many stereotypes about domestic violence and what it looks like and what it doesn't look like. And the nation was baffled to see that, a woman like Gabby Petito happy, living the dream on social media. But what did you see in that video from the Moab Police Department that really shed light on what was actually going on? What did you see specifically, little key insights?
What I saw was a very panic-stricken, frightened young woman who's lost her identity in her partner, and a very calculating, fawning, narcissistic young man who didn't care about her. That's what I saw.
You have experience working with people in domestic violence situations. So for somebody that doesn't like me, I'm like, oh, what's going on here? But for you, you clued into specific things that were going on. You went, no, this is what's actually happening here.
And we can't expect our police to know those things. I mean, they need to be trained, of course, in how to respond to those kinds of situations, but they're not psychologists and social workers. That's not their thing. However, having a psychologist or social worker on a team that's investigating domestic violence would be a very good thing to have, a wonderful change to our system. But the other thing we have to remember is a police officer cannot arrest someone based on how they look. They have to find some kind of evidence that leads them to believe that this person is in danger. And the way this case was presented, she was the abuser. She was doing the slapping and the scratching. And basically the officer wanted to be kind and said, why don't you just cool off, separate, and come back together later. Unfortunately, he very much misjudged the situation and thought about this as just a case of anxiety versus the deeper wounding and danger that it was.
All right. And another thing, too, something that's trending I saw this morning on Twitter, it's being called the missing white woman syndrome, where it basically is implying that the media ignores victims who aren't white. Do you think it's problematic that we're focusing on this one case, this pretty young white woman, and we're not really looking at domestic violence as a whole?
Absolutely. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll take what I can take to get people to recognize this is a serious problem. I have to prepare young women who are my patients when they go off to college and want to live a more independent life. I have to prepare them for things I don't have to prepare my boys for. I have to prepare them to be able to stay themselves in the face of a relationship. I have to prepare them about how to go to parties, how they can safely have a drink with friends. I mean, women are not first-class citizens in this country, still after all these years. And that has to change.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Cochran. We appreciate your time.